Welcome to the podcast where mental health is at the core of what we focus on. We strive to develop people like you to maximize who you are and what you've been called to do by sharing tools and resources for better brain health. And now here's your host, Juan Garcia.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Mind yours, we are starting a new series and it is based on deadly emotions. We want to really highlight how important it is for us to get a hold on our emotions so they don't get a hold on us. Bottom line is, we are seeing time and time again so many people suffering from diseases, suffering from ailments, and all of these physical things that are a reflection of an emotional status, something that they're not dealing with, that in turn is dealing with them. And what I want to do in this video, I want to kind of bring an introduction to this theme because it's something that's truly, truly important. I think a lot of the people that are struggling in today's world with different diseases, those that have been diagnosed, those that have not been diagnosed because of whatever reasons, whether the physicians don't see it as a big deal or whether patients are not really pursuing follow-ups, physicals, all of these different things. I want to make sure that I highlight this because it's a real big problem. Now, we all know that we have emotions and we have to deal with our emotions. We all know that in theory, but in the practicum, we're just not doing so, or we're not doing it in a healthy way. And so this is really affecting our physical being. It's really affecting how we feel. It's affecting how we go about the day. It's affecting our interactions with people. And so I want to make sure that we get a good understanding of the relationship between our emotions and our physical being. One of the things that I want to highlight is that there are many emotions, obviously. There are some that truly outweigh or are in the forefront of how we go about our daily lives. For example, one of the top ones that I feel we all deal with is fear. Fear in it of itself is not necessarily negative or bad. Fear, and let me premise everything that I'm going to say by making sure that I establish a foundational fact. And that foundational fact is that our emotions were given to us by God. They are not a mistake. They are not a result of something negative or something bad. They are given to us and were given to us by God. And so if we believe that God is a creator and he is a designer by nature, then we know that our emotions play a role, a significant role actually, in who we are and who we become. So emotions, again, are not bad in and of itself. They become unhealthy when we don't manage them the proper way. And one of these emotions is fear. And we're going to have a whole episode dedicated to fear. But I just want to highlight the importance of knowing that these emotions, although they are naturally given to us, they are independently good or bad, depending on how we flow or how they flow in us and through us. They are important to know. Fear is one of them. Anxiety is another one. Worry is another one. Anger is a big one. A lot of people connect with anger because of how demonstrative it is. Let me highlight that anger is also a secondary emotion, meaning that there are potential primary emotions that are playing a role into leading for anger to be the one that's actually representing them, if you will. So if you were to think about anger as a secondary emotion, right? And then you start to process and see, okay, so if anger is a secondary emotion, what can be a primary emotion? Well, a primary emotion for anger could be loneliness. It could be discouragement. It could be frustration. It could be sadness. It could be hunger. All of these other emotions our primary emotions that now can hide behind anger because maybe they don't really want to show really how they're feeling. I mean, who wants to admit that they're feeling lonely, right? Some have no problem with it, but a lot of people do. A lot of people don't want to put themselves out there and say that they're feeling lonely, because that implies that they're not self-sufficient. And in today's culture, if you're not self-sufficient, then there's something wrong with you, right? So loneliness is one of those emotions that we don't really like to admit that we struggle with or that we're experiencing. And so we let it sit, we let it harbor, and then it builds momentum and strength to now have anger be the one that's actually going out there and representing loneliness for its case. And obviously, if you are an extrovert, then anger is going to be visible. It's going to be maybe even physical. It's going to be out there, outspoken. It's going to be demonstrative in a big way. But if you're an introvert, anger may look different, but the magnitude of the anger can be the same. And the effects of it, when we don't manage it or handle it well, it's deadly. And that's really the focus of this series. That's just one example. There are other examples that are really, really detrimental to our physical being, our well-being, which obviously in turn affects our mental ability to be focused, our spiritual ability to be grounded, so forth and so on. And so this whole series, Deadly Emotions, is going to really, really get to the root of possibly some of the ailments that you may be suffering from that are connected to some emotion that is now managing you. It's actually controlling your life. And now, from emotions to actual physical ailments or diseases, and by the way, the word disease, if you break it down, is to not be at ease, to dis-ease, not be at ease. And so anything that is affecting you and not allowing you to experience tranquility, peace of mind, that stability, it becomes a disease. And that's how in the medical profession they categorize it, because it's not allowing you to do something. There's a part of your life that is not able to be what it needs to be to its fullest capacity because you have a dis-ease. There's no ease to you trying to get that done. And a lot of those are arthritis, IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome, which is affecting a lot more people nowadays. Another one is fatigue, or chronic fatigue. There are autoimmune illnesses that we're going to cover as well. And all of these different diseases have to do with some emotion that has not been dealt with. I want to establish sort of a statement for our series on deadly emotions, so that as we go through these different episodes, that we really fall back to this one statement that I'm about to make about deadly emotion. Here's the statement. What you feel emotionally becomes how you feel physically. What you feel emotionally becomes how you feel physically. That is super important for us to kind of establish as a foundational truth as it relates to deadly emotions, because if we don't get a grasp of how we're feeling emotionally, ultimately we're going to feel it physically, and a lot of times it's going to give us a deadly result. There's a story of a female who came to see their doctor, their medical doctor, and she was just feeling a lot of pain in her stomach, and they really couldn't find anything. They did some scans, some blood work. They couldn't find anything. And so this doctor began to ask her personal questions and kind of social questions. And basically, this woman was going through a divorce. And the divorce was really, really tough. Obviously, there were some really bad moments in the interactions with her ex-spouse. And this became really heavy for her emotionally. As she was sharing with the doctor said, okay, well, try to exercise, try to sleep, try to eat healthy. And the combination of these three things should really help you feel better. And obviously that advice is solid, is right on. I give that advice personally to a lot of people that come to my office, because a balance of these three things is essential in order for us to feel better and to be more productive. So she goes off and she starts to share with her best friend the findings, what the medical doctor advised her to kind of consider for her to feel better. And so her female best friend was very, encouraging and said, yes, try to do so. And so she did. She tried to implement that. Meanwhile, the divorce goes through. Now she's finding herself sleeping a bit more than she should. She's eating all kinds of stuff, and essentially she doesn't have a grasp of the three things that the medical doctor was recommending. So she goes back to the doctor and she says, Doc, I've kind of fallen. I really haven't been eating properly, not crazy, but not sticking to the diet that I know would work for me. And I've been kind of oversleeping. And the doctor said, well, that's okay. Just, take it one day at a time. And sooner or later, you're going to feel better now that the divorce is over. So she goes back to her friend and tells her how her follow-up was with her medical doctor. And her best friend, who also happened to be a registered nurse, tells her, I've seen these kind of stories, and you gotta make some adjustments. And the person that just went through the divorce tells her, yeah, I'm sure you've seen them at the hospital. And her female friend nurse said, no, not necessarily only at the hospital. I've seen them at funerals. And the implication of her friend, who was a nurse, was that a lot of times we don't see how deadly some of these unchecked emotions can be. And what she was trying to tell her friend was, just because the divorce is over doesn't mean that your process, your emotions have been dealt with and your emotions are not over. You have to deal with those emotions because they become something physical in your body. And it was an eye-opening experience for this woman who had just become divorced, who had to now navigate the root issue of her weariness, her fatigue, her lack of desire, lack of focus, all of these things that come with sometimes us not being able to handle our emotions well. Clearly, this is a very specific series on deadly emotions, meaning emotions that we are not really handling well, and that they become emotions that handle us, and then we feel the physical ramifications of those unhandled emotions. There are other cases that can affect our physical bodies, traumas, accidents, surgeries, all of these other things that can cause our emotions also to be affected, which in turn also can develop some diseases. So I'm not really focusing on those other circumstances that are, rare. I am focusing specifically on the emotions that we sometimes take for granted because we get so accustomed to being fearful or to being worrisome or to being anxious or to being angry. We get so accustomed to that rhythm in our daily life that it goes unchecked. Therefore, it becomes a physical ailment or disease in our body. And that's where I want to try to help as many as you that are listening and watching, so that we can be healthier in this journey we call life. Now, if you have a physical ailment, you have something that is physically bothering you, I am not a medical doctor, so I cannot advise you as to what to do. I do suggest that you go get yourself checked out by a medical physician, someone that can look at you from head to toe. If you need to do a physical, please do so. Everyone should do so at least once a year. And make sure you get your blood work so that you know exactly what's happening in your body, and get a physical assessment from a medical doctor that will suggest to you what's happening and the why behind it. Now, I can say from a psychological standpoint, which is, I'm a licensed therapist, so I can recommend you getting help if you feel overwhelmed and you feel as if there is an emotion or emotions that have a hold on you, that you also are feeling the effects of it in your physical body. If that is you, I do suggest that you do get some help so that you can adjust to the realization of, this is something that's really, really bothering me physically, and this may be the reason why. If you need help, all the information for our services will be in the description, and we can help you. We can help you navigate. We can refer you to a medical facility if you don't have a doctor. We can make sure that we do whatever assessment we need to do to help you understand the why you feel the way you feel. And we want to make sure that you connect the emotion that may be the driving force towards your physical ailments. We can also provide you with a referral to get your brain scan. Sometimes we have things, we're being forgetful. There are thoughts that we can't really get a hold of, is that term that we say here in the United States, it's in the tip of my tongue. All of those things can be an indicator of some potential issues in the brain, in the physical brain. We have a connection with the Amen clinics, Dr. Daniel Amen, who has done thousands of brain scans, where we can refer you to the nearest Amen clinic to where you live, and they can make sure to do that, to get a scan of your, it's called a SPECT scan of your brain, so that we make sure we can see if there's a potential disease developing, or if it's just you need some rest, or you need some different things, tools that we can help you and provide you with. All right, so be on the lookout. Stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed, hit the bell so you can get notifications when we drop these episodes, specifically in this series, Deadly Emotions, because remember, what you feel emotionally becomes how you feel physically. And we want to make sure that we're getting a hold of what's driving your emotions that's causing you some physical ailments or dis-ease. So stay tuned. We will catch up with you on our next episode. Let us know how we can serve you, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for tuning into our podcast. For more information, visit our website at juangarciaenterprises.com. Our host, Juan Garcia, is available for speaking, coaching, and one-on-one counseling. You can email us at info@juangarciaenterprises.com. Until next time, remember, we only have one mind, so mind yours.